Hey peeps, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about characters and how I write them as an intuitive writer. I get a lot of questions on that. I also want to remind you that I have a summer contest going on, a summer basket contest on my blog, and it runs until 9 p.m. Pacific time on September 1st, so run over there and enter if you want to win all sorts of goodies, including a Kindle Fire. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do so now. Give this video a thumbs up if you like it, and hit that bell so you get notified when I put out new videos, which I do about once a week most of the time. So we'll be back here in just a moment and we'll get started. So here I am again, and there is Kaylee and my little video hog. She absolutely loves to try and help me with the videos, and that's fine, except when she tries to turn them off and walks on the keyboard and all sorts of things like that. She is now wandering out into the other room, and maybe we can have a little privacy. I love my kitties. I love having them part of the videos, but it can be a little challenging at times. I have infinite patience for cats, though, where I don't for humans. Just my makeup. So I thought today, before I get into talking about my main subject, I would show you a few things that I recently got. I love them. I can't wait for autumn. I'm so thrilled. We're almost into September. And so I found a few things that, every year I get a few more autumn decorations, and same when it comes, time for the solstice, I get a few more decorations for that. But I found a trio of figurines that I just love. Here is one. She is a pumpkin witch, and I love the wings are flexible. Luckily the cats have not chewed on them yet, but I love the figurine of her sitting on the pumpkin. This, I think, is my favorite of the three that I got. She is my witch, and she is casting a spell over the cauldron of flames, and I love the stance. I love again the wings, and just the vibrant colors and how she's formed. I feel like these are fairly well made, and I think they all come from the same company, obviously. I think there was a fourth or a fifth one that I didn't like as much. And then this is Witch on a Broomstick, and again, I really like the coloring. I like the fact that they portray witches as vibrant and not ugly old green hags. Because, yeah, I may not be as svelte as these characters, but I'm definitely not green, and I don't have warts all over my face. So those are my three witches that I just got. And I also got this. I love this. It's a cauldron. It's a mug, which I'm not using as a mug. I'm actually putting candles in it at this point, because I think if I used it as a mug, it would get broke somehow in cleaning it. I just know our household. And when you look, it's actually got, an eye there. Yeah, there. And crescent moon above. And, yeah, just a lot of fun things this time of year. So those are some of my goodies that I recently picked up. So yeah, today I think I will talk a little about my characters and how they came to be, because I always get a lot of questions on how do I find the names for my characters, how do I decide what they wear, what they look like. Being an intuitive writer, and I'm going to link to my video on being an intuitive writer below in the description box, so you can watch it if you haven't. As an intuitive writer, my worlds and characters tend to form subconsciously. I don't plot out the work. I don't create the characters in advance, in terms of sitting down and writing out a character sheet for them and figuring out what they weigh and how tall they are, and what color the hair is, and so forth. I process all this on a subconscious level. And so when it's time to write about the character, my subconscious will sort of like just project an image into my head, and I will see what the character looks like. I will see what they're wearing. I will hear their name. And once in a great while, I'll have to create a name, like come up with a middle name, or sometimes for the secondary characters, I will actually think of a name for them, like a minor character. But the major characters and the secondary characters usually come fully named. Ember Kearney. I didn't sit there and think, what should I call her? I saw a glimpse of the character and I knew her name was Ember. I knew her last name was Kearney. It's a process that goes on below the surface, and I am convinced that basically my mind works in such a way that I take everything in that I've seen and heard over the years. And that's a lot of years, people. I have a lot of years behind me. So I take everything that I've seen and heard and watched and listened to and experienced and dreamed, and it all goes in and sort of churns around in a giant cauldron, and out come these, not compilations, but it's all inspiration. It's all fodder for the mill. Everything that's happened to me is at some point probably going to find its way into a book, even if it's altered a bit. Now, there are times where it's like, I don't tend to talk about this much, but many years ago, when I was 18, I was in jail for a few days. Yeah, that's right. I was convicted, and it got wiped off my record after a couple years of probation. But yeah, I was a felon for a while. But that's long ago, and a totally different story for a different time. However, I know what it's like to be locked up. I know what it's like to be stuck in a room and you can't get out, and you are locked up there. You are trapped. So I know what it's like to feel trapped. I know what it's like to feel like you have no choices, like everything's taken away from you. You don't get a choice on what you eat. You don't get a choice on what you wear. You don't get a choice on anything when you are locked up like that. And if you are locked up with other people like I was, you don't get a choice on your roommates either, and that's a whole different experience. So all that went into the process, and the domestic violence that I suffered went into the process, and the abuse that I suffered as a very young girl, it goes into the process, and the joys as well. You know, I remember when I was very little, we had a cabin up on Blewett Pass, which is a pass in Washington State. We didn't own it. We rented it from the government, I believe. They had some program back then that you could. And we would go up there, and it was in the middle of the woods, you know, high woods, high mountain pass. And there was a porcupine, and he would come out. He lived underneath our cabin porch, which our porch was about 4 feet above the ground. You know, you'd go up the steps and you'd be about 4 feet over the ground. Anyway, there was an easily accessible crawl space underneath the porch. I could walk under there. I played under there a lot. And there was a porcupine under there. And he lived there, and we never bothered him too much, but he'd come out. We named him Salt and Pepper. And so, you know, I remember we had a porcupine roommate sort of at the cabin. And there were these deer. This one deer used to bring her fawn down. And she knew we weren't going to hurt her. And she would bring her fawn over for us there, and they'd stand, and we'd look at her, and she'd look at us, and then she'd make her noise to her fawn, and it sounds very much like a cat meowing, oddly enough. And then they'd walk off into the forest. There was a stream, a creek, that ran by the cabin that we lived in. And it was high water season one year. And there was an old arastra down there. And that is the thing that the prospectors would use to, it used water power to sift out everything away from the gold. Because up on Blewett Pass there was a lot of gold mining. So there was the old arastra down there from the days way gone by, and I used to, my sisters would take me down there because I was just little. I was very young, and we would play on the arastra. I would play while they watched me because they were teenagers at that point, and I was 3. But all of these experiences from childhood and as an adult go into the mix to create what the characters do, what they see, where they go, their feelings. Because you can translate, as a writer, you translate feelings from one experience into another experience. You know, as I said, when I was in jail, the feeling of being trapped, of being locked in a room I couldn't get out of, I've used that numerous times in adventures. You know, it's like, oh my God, what do we do? We're trapped. How do we get out of here? Now, obviously, I got out by them unlocking the door and letting me go home on the weekends, or after the weekend. I was in jail on weekends for 10 weekends. But it's easy to take one experience and take the emotions from that and move it into a different experience. So my characters, a lot of the emotions they feel are translated emotions from things I've been through. You know, I know what it's like to be hit till you're bruised. I know what it's like to lose a beloved family member or a beloved friend, because that's happened to me. But yeah, so I don't sit there trying to create things. They just sort of form together. Now, I'm asked a lot of times if I base characters on friends or people that I've met. No. Not really. Once in a great while, one trait or another may find its way in. But the only characters I've really based on someone else are animal characters. And they're based on other animals that I've known. Maggie the Gargoyle was based on a friend's calico cat. And named after her too. Creating a character is more just pouring everything into a mixer and letting it mix until it's done, and then I pour it into the pan, which is writing, and then I bake it, and you see what comes out when you read the book. So it's kind of like that. Kitty cute. Kitty. Excuse me. Someone needs attention. I like writing this way. I know a lot of people will tell you that you have to sit down, and plan out everything in advance. But if you are an intuitive writer, as I said in that other video, that may hinder you. It hinders me. There are some things I will decide. I will sit down once I have the character in mind. Then it's like, okay, I need to figure out a few things before I start. But I will see the character in my mind. I will see her dressed. I will see her tattoos. I will see her movements. I will see the way she dresses. And each character dresses according to their nature. You know, Camille was very much like me, you know, corsets and dresses and makeup and all that. And whereas Ember is a little bit of that too, but she also likes to wear jeans, and she's very active. She has to dress for her activities. It wouldn't make sense for her to go out on cases all the time wearing high heels and a dress, and that wouldn't be her. That's not her nature. But she does dress up. She's not a slob. She is not someone who just throws on a t-shirt and apparel jeans. In terms of how the characters speak, I listen to them, because when I'm writing, it's like I'm seeing the scenes in my mind and I'm hearing things. So I write down what I see, I write down what I hear. Again, it's not something I could tell people how to do, because if you are a plotter or you are someone who plans out things in advance, then yes, it is very easy to sit down and have a writer who writes like that tell you, here's point A, here's how you do point B, here's how you do point C. The writers who are like me, writers who may be like you, can't necessarily do that. We have a process that's more subconscious, that is more intuitive. And I'm not saying it's a better process, it's just different. I think we're hardwired differently than the writers who are plotters. Now, I do write out a one-page synopsis of the book and go off of that, but it's highlights, and it generally is about the main conflict in the book. And I will usually write out one or two sentences of things I would like each character to go through in the book so that they grow. Because it's important to me that my characters grow throughout the series. Otherwise, they'd be boring to me. If you have a static character and if you have a static situation, it's going to be boring. You must grow in one way or another throughout your situations in life. And I feel that's true for the characters as well. I want to talk about another character that isn't talked about a whole lot, but for me it's important, and that's my setting. It's been mentioned that I write regional work mainly, and that's true. I do, because I know this land. I know this area. I know it on a gut level, internal, sensory level. I know what it smells like when the rain has fallen on the cedars. I know what it smells like when you're out in the mossy forest. I know that sense of fuzziness that the trees have because the moss is growing over the trunks. There is a feel to the land. No matter where you go, there's going to be a feel to the land. And if you don't know that feel, if you've never experienced it, no matter how much you read about it, you can't really know it. Now, one way to combat that is to talk to someone who lives there or who has been there over and over again. And I'm currently doing that for a short story I'm planning on writing in the future, because I don't know the area that it takes place in. I mean, I can read as much as I want to about it, but I can't get that sense of of character of the land, of energy that the land puts out. So that's one reason why I write regional, and why my settings are so vivid and as important to me as other characters in the book. I never get tired of writing about this area. I really don't. For me, it's the one constant through my books and my series is the Pacific Northwest, Western Washington in particular. Because, okay, east of the mountains, Eastern Washington, totally different landscape. I grew up there. I don't like the area. I don't ever want to write any books set over there because I do not connect with that area. It makes me uneasy, it makes me antsy, and it makes me just want to get out of there. And it's nothing necessarily against the place, it's just, it doesn't resonate with me. In fact, it feels like it conflicts with my nature. So there was someone who asked if I would ever put a series over in Eastern Washington. No, because I don't feel comfortable over there, and it would show. It would be an uncomfortable series to write, and that would transfer to the writing itself, so the reader would be like, I don't know why, but reading this makes me feel uneasy. So that's my little bit about characters today. You know, they're each different, they're each a little part of me as well. Even if it's minor, even the villains are a little bit of me. Although, I promise you, I'm not a serial killer, I'm not a monster, but, you know, I can envision them because I've met monsters in human form before. And I've dealt with ghosts quite a bit in my life because I have that side of my life, you know. It's like, I've dealt with spirits, both benign and malevolent. So yeah, it's like I write what I know to an extent. But sometimes what I write is what I know changed around to work for the book. I hope this has helped you in some way or given you an insight into my worlds. If you would like, leave me comments about what you notice about my books in terms of the characters. If you're interested in why certain characters may have this aspect or that aspect, go ahead and leave questions, and if there's enough, I'll do another video on it. If it's just a few, I can answer them in the comments. What kind of videos would you like to see in the future? Are you interested in more of these? Autumn's Bane is now out. I hope you've read it. I hope you've loved it. Or I hope it's on your to-be-read pile. Witching Time will be out in October. And then we will go into the Blood Queen series for 3 books. And I'm excited about that. It's going to be another different world. We will be coming back to the Wild Hunt world. If you are interested in some of the other series, I have a State of the Series page now. I'll link up below. And I hope you have a lovely end of August. And when we come back next week, it will be September. And I will be happy because I am looking forward to autumn. And gotta be decorating because I need to decorate now. I just need to. Be safe. Wear your masks. Happy Sunday. And take care. Bye-bye.